Question for you. If you're a young person, I'm going to take this from the example of a 24-year-old young female because I have one of those at home. It's my daughter who's 24 years old and feels like she's not getting ahead financially. And today what we're going to do is, and I always say this in my real estate business, is I want to give you advice that I would give it to my own family, friends, and kids. And so today I'm going to give you the top 5 moves to make it 24 years old to get financially free. How's that sound? Now you can do these if you're not 24. You can do these if you're a guy or a gal, but I always try to give advice to people as if I would my own kids, my own mother, my own family and friends. And so today I want to take the perspective of a 24-year-old, 2-year graduate from the University of Montana and explain to you what are the 5 things that I constantly tell her to do in order to get her financial freedom going in the right direction, okay? And the first one, of course, is you've got to master the game of budgeting and cash flow. And you've got to know what you've got coming in and you've got to know what you have going out. And I don't care how you do it. You can do it super old school, which nobody wants to do on a pad of paper. But the easiest way for most of you to do it in today's world, because everything is a swipe and a debit and not actual cash money. No one ever spends actual cash money. It's kind of funny. Every time I actually have cash, people look at me like, why are you doing that? But you've got to understand. So what I would do is I would go back at least 30, more like 60 or 90 days, and you could create a budget. I'm sure you could take those things, throw it into some sort of app, throw it into chat, throw it into some sort of AI tool, and it will give you a spreadsheet or a budget of where your money's going, how much is coming in, and where it's going out. And then you can figure out where your holes are, okay? So that is the first place to start. You got to know what's coming in and you got to know what's going out, because if you don't, you've got no chance. You will not win. You will just basically have money coming in. You look in there. If there's nothing there, you don't spend. And if there's money there, you do. You cannot win unless you track this game. And it sucks at first. You don't have to do it forever. And the reason I keep looking over here is because I want to make sure I give you the exact things. But I had written down, track every single dollar. It sucks at first. You're not going to want to do it. But in today's world, there's so many easy ways to do it because, again, everything is a debit or a swipe. But I promise you this, if you just do it for a little while, you won't have to do it forever. And then the better you get at it, the more that spread will happen between what's coming in and what's going out. And then you're going to feel great. Like anymore, I don't even worry about my budget. I know what my overhead is, and it's such a small amount of my income anymore that I know I'm going to win. I know I'm going to have extra money every month. I know my investments are going to keep getting bigger. And at the beginning, when there's not a lot of extra, you've got to track this even more tight. So just know, if you don't know where it's going, that means it's already gone, it's already spent, and you're already going into debt. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one is invest early. And even if it's a small amount, you're going to be shocked, okay? I've talked about this tool many times. And if you go and look at an investment calculator, the one that makes it super easy, the one that I like, and the one that I've actually walked my daughter through a bunch of times, and we got her started in investing last year at 23, was Ramsey Solutions, Dave Ramsey website. If you click on, we'll show it to you again. Free tools, investment calculator. And there's an investment calculator and there's a retirement calculator. And the only difference is this. I always want you to put some money into your retirement accounts, but I also want you to put some money in just regular investment accounts that you can get to now. And yes, some will be taxable and some will be non-taxable, but you got to have access to some of your cash. You can't just put it all away. But if you do that and you start early, there's a couple things I would want you to do. One, if you have a job that has a 401k and there's some sort of match from your job, take it. If it's 2%, 4%, 6%, whatever it is, max it out because they're going to give you a 100% match. So if you put in 1,000, they're going to give you 1,000. It's the greatest return on investment ever. And I know some people say there might be high costs of running that 401k, or maybe there isn't great investment choices. You still made 100% of your money right off the bat. So that alone is just a huge win. But the other one that people can do is called a Roth IRA. And I had my daughter start it last year. And for young people, you could put in $7,000 a year, which is about $584 a month. And that may sound like a lot of money, but I promise you, if you do this, go to that investment calculator I just talked to you about, put in $7,000 a year, or start off at zero. Whatever your age is, your balance is zero. Put in, I think it'll let you do monthly or annually. You put in I think it's $583 and some change. Just take 7,000 divided by 12. Put that money in there, and the stock market's average return of the last 50 years is 10%. Now, in a Roth IRA, on the back end, when you go to start taking that money out, you're not going to pay tax because You pay tax and then you put the money in the account. So it's going to grow all those years tax-free. And so my daughter did this, started at 23 with zero, put in 7,000 at 23, is putting 7,000 in as 24. And I said, just keep putting $7,000 a year in. And by the time she gets to the finish line, if average returns end up being 10%, there's going to be about $5 or $6 million there from the one thing by starting young and doing it. And what was crazy, like I showed her, was on there, it'll tell you how much you contributed versus how much is there. And her contribution wasn't even $300,000. And she was up to $5 or $6 million. And that was one thing, because of course, we're going to talk about more investing and doing things with her. But for now, as a young person, this is the first thing to do. And when she did it, it felt much more motivational for her, because she'll be the first to tell you, she still feels like financially she's not winning, because right now the cost of housing, which I've talked about this in many other videos, is so expensive that in the short term, she lives at my house. She doesn't want to live at my house. She wants to live on her own. But for now, it just makes too much sense financially for her not to have these big wins and these big gains. And then she's able to save some extra money so that eventually she will be able to go out and get her own apartment or buy a house or whatever the case may be, which leads us right into number 3. And number 3 is live below your means. And the more you can do it when you're young and like radically live below your means, the better. So don't all of a sudden get a raise, let your lifestyle creep up, start spending more than you can do. And in my world, what I would tell people to do is this, is try to save 20% off the top. That might sound like a lot, but you can do it. If you save 20% off the top, I promise you, you will be so glad you did down the road. And the example I use all the time just to make the numbers round and easy is this. Let's say as a family, instead of one person, you're making $100,000 or you're taking home $100,000. If you could take $20,000 off the top and live on the 80, and as long as you don't live on 80,001, you just live on the 80, then you're not going to have to pay attention to your budget too closely, other than just don't overspend the $80,000. But if you did that $20,000, I'm telling you, it will be a ridiculous amount of money in the future. And here's how I would break it out. If you have a 401k, let's say if you put in 4%, they'll match you 4%. So of that $20,000, you put in $4,000, your company matches you $4,000. So you would now have $8,000 in your 401k. Great, but you've only done $4,000. Now do $7,000 into that Roth IRA. So now $4,000 in your 401k, $7,000 in your Roth IRA, and now you still got $9,000 left over of that original $20,000. And to me, that $9,000 over here starts to become the emergency fund, the saving up for a new house, the saving up for that next car, putting money away for if you already own a house for repairs, maintenance, whatever it might be. You start building up that cash. Now, don't just sit it in the bank and earn 0% interest. You could put some in a high yield savings account. You might be able to put some in some conservative investments so that you can start to make some decent money, like in a regular S&P 500 index fund. Just, you can learn more about that in some other videos that we're going to do, but you can start there and not have this massive amounts of risk. You can start building up that. And if you were able to do that now, if you make 50 grand a year, then great. 20% off top is going to be 10 grand a year, but you've got to figure out a way to live below your means as best you can. And this is your season of stacking money, building up those reserves and doing all those things. Because again, if you do this in your 20s and 30s, I'm telling you, by the time you hit your 40s and 50s, your lifestyle is going to be amazing, because you'll have done all the long-term planning you needed to do early that will crush it down the road. And then for now, obviously you start making more money, and that spread can get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's how you start really winning at this game. The fourth one is build a high income skill. And we always talk about side hustles. I'm not a huge fan of the side hustle, to be honest with you. I think the more you can make your main hustle, your main thing, and figure out how to make more money at your main gig by either improving your skills, changing career paths, whatever it might be to make more money there, the better. That's what I was able to do. I started off when I was 30 years old. I was a real estate agent. Eventually, we added property management business. Eventually, we added owning the real estate brokerage, so that we bought a commercial building that we put our company within. And then it became a real estate investment. So we were able to take the main business and just put more spokes in the wheel. And we were able to make more money doing the same thing rather than doing side hustle things. Now, if you want to do side hustle stuff, for example, in my real estate business, I'm able to help my son get some side jobs. He likes to be handy with his, do handy things. So a lot of times my clients need some help, and he's able to get some weekend jobs and make a few extra $1,000. Like he just landscaped his house from the money he made on a side hustle job. So you can do that, but his main hustle is his main thing. It isn't actually a job. The other thing he does a lot of times is he flips things on Facebook Marketplace, or you could sell a lot of stuff you have in your house that you don't need and use that money if you have debts to pay them off. Or to start building up these reserves of cash that you really need to do. And then number 5 of all these is the biggest one. And if you have this, we want to get rid of it as soon as possible. And then we never want to go back there is avoid debt, consumer debt, credit cards, car loans, boats, motorcycles, toys, payday loans, gas cards, Target, whatever it is. You don't want to be in debt. It is the biggest problem that you're going to have. And when you have no debt, it allows you to have more flexibility, because I'll be the first to tell you, I know right now, one of my long-term wealth building strategies for people is to own real estate. And in the current environment when I made this video, many places, renting is cheaper than owning, and owning is very expensive, and it becomes difficult for people to buy a house. And, at some point it's going to get better for people. At some point you'll be able to do that, and you want to be in a position to do it. But you'll have the flexibility that you need when all of a sudden all you have is either your rent or a house payment, your normal utilities, and no other bills. It's crazy if all of a sudden when your budget and your needs part of your budget, food, place to live, transportation, those kind of things become so much smaller, then all of a sudden it really makes your life more flexible and your ability to take trips and have fun things and save and invest more. And it starts to snowball in a positive direction versus snowballing in a negative direction. So you got to get rid of the debts. And if you don't know how to do that or what make the plan, reach out to me. We have videos about, how to get your debt paid off. And I can walk you through the best way to do that and how to at least know where to start to make those things work. But you've got to do that. And that goes right back to the one we talked about living well below what you're making, or live well below your means. And I know it sucks at first, but I'm telling you, it'll be a good thing. And then the last one is a little bonus one about changing your mindset. So you have to think of things like owning assets and finding ways for your money to make money without trading your time for money. So obviously we all go to work, we have a job, and whether you're an entrepreneur and you work for yourself, whether you're sort of self-employed and you've created your own job for yourself, whether you actually go work the clock for somebody else or have multiple jobs, the biggest thing you got to be able to do is start to own assets. So whether that's investing in the stock market, whether it's buying the house you live in, which is not the same as an investment as if you bought rental real estate or commercial real estate or whatever the asset is that you want to get yourself into, but you've got to get your assets paying you interest and letting that money compound versus you paying other people interest and letting it compound in a negative direction. Because again, the interest rates you pay on car loans and credit card payments and all those other things are going to be exponentially higher than what we can earn on the other side. And again, some of those assets we can earn some decent returns on, but if you're paying 30% on a credit card or you're paying 50% on a car loan, there's not a lot of assets that are safe that you can earn that kind of money on the other direction. And again, we can talk about what to invest in later, but you got to get your mind right so that you're not just buying stuff. The goal in my brain is to buy freedom, and then freedom starts to allow you to enjoy your life a whole lot more. So again, to remember these 5 things, and I'm going to go through the list one more time just so that I don't forget to tell you what they are. But 1 was master the game of budgeting and cash flow. 2 was invest early and often, and we talked about how to plan that out. Live well below your means. Build up your skills, because all this gets a lot easier if you can start to make as much money as possible. And again, money won't buy you happiness, but money invested properly, worked on properly, will buy you freedom. And freedom is what gets you happiness. And then, of course, the last one was avoid debt every way you can. And if you're not sure how to get any current debt you have paid off, reach out. We're happy to help you. Hopefully this helped you, but you got to get your mind thinking in the right direction so you can make some small wins on a regular basis. And there you go. Appreciate you watching. Subscribe to the channel and reach out to me if you have questions. I'm happy to help. And again, I'm going to put some courses together for these basic principles, because I really think a lot of people who talk about money and finance talk to wealthier people and don't know what they're doing. And for those people that are living paycheck to paycheck and scrapping to get by, we got to get you on a plan so that we can get you heading in the right direction. And it's not too late. I am 54 years old and I help people my age, older than me, and a lot of people in their 20s and 30s that are my kids' age. I try to help a lot of their friends figure out this game of money and finance. So you can do it, you can win, and I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you real soon on the next video.